All right, so for my final project, I'm going to be doing a TED Talk on Amur leopard conservation. So just a little bit of background about the Amur leopard here. The Amur leopard is one of the most critically endangered species on the planet due to human causes. And my focus in this presentation is going to be to bring awareness on ways that we can conserve the Amur leopard, um, why we should conserve them due to the many necessary benefits they bring to ecosystems, and bring more awareness to the challenges that they face. And then there has recently been a specific focus on the species due to the severe population decline, which you can see through this graph here, spanning from about 2,500 wild Amur leopards in the 1950s to about less than 25 leopards by the year 2000, which this graph demonstrates. The species decline is all due to human causes. However, conservation efforts have posed to be successful as the Amur leopard population has had a steady increase since 2000, as there are now around 100 leopards left in the wild, which you can see here. Um, Going into some of the challenges that the Amur leopard faces. So, one of the many challenges to Amur leopard conservation is habitat loss due to human causes. Reasons for habitat loss of the Amur leopard's natural range can include deforestation, which can come from a variety of reasons that include land conversion to agriculture, urban development, cattle crop farms being established, and logging. Those causes of habitat loss can lead to Amur leopard diseases from cattle, since they're both mammals and are genetically similar. Um, Another effect of habitat loss in population can be poaching, hunting, and illegal wildlife trade for Amur leopard skins and meat. Due to habitat loss, the Amur leopard only occupies 3% of its former range. And on the bottom left of this slide, you can actually see a wild Amur leopard caught on a camera trap in a deforested area. Um, and in the bottom right of this slide, you can see that a forest has been cut down for logging, similar to what's happened with the Amur leopard. Some more of the challenges that Amur leopards face are political issues. This is another big conservation challenge. Since the range is spread across many different nations, conservation strategies can become political issues and arguments due to a variety of nations having different governing beliefs, and barricades and fences that distinguish different countries can make it difficult to track Amur leopards' movements across borders, and also make it difficult to get a better understanding of their ecological corridor in general. The political issues of conservation tie back to the issues of habitat loss when different countries enact different policies and protection laws of land use, such as poaching and illegal wildlife trade. Um, Citizens can really do their part to help the Amur leopard when citizen science monitoring schemes supported by border security personnel could provide coarse scale data to identify key corridors. And that was Farhadina et al. Implications for policy, one of the good sources that I used. And then on to my next slide here. So, another large conservation challenge for the Amur leopard's low genetic diversity. Is low genetic diversity and a scarce prey base. Due to the Amur leopard's low genetic diversity, um, of their three isolated populations in Russia, two became extinct and only one exists today in Russia. In other nations, however, such as in North Korea, their status is unknown due to their communist government, which is another big challenge that the Amur leopard faces. Um, and in countries such as China, there are fewer than 10 leopards that remain, which is very hard to believe and kind of sad. As far as prey species go, Amur leopards prefer to hunt prey of their similar and same size, such as deer and boar, which makes them use a lot of energy to hunt and find food. Another factor of reducing prey species that has caused Amur leopard populations to decline is human based hunting of their prey. Together with increased hunting of deer and wild boar by humans, this ecosystem degradation has led to reduced ungulate prey and more competition between Amur leopards and Amur tigers. And in the bottom right corner here, you can see a roe deer, one of the very large prey species that the Amur leopard consumes. And it takes a lot of energy for them to consume a species like this. And the Amur tiger conservation stat. Second here. Um, The Amur tiger conservation status is very similar to the Amur leopard since they're both big cats that share the same range and hunt the same prey. The Amur tiger also faces a lot of similar conservation challenges to that of the Amur leopard. On the bottom right of this slide, like I said, you can see the roe deer. On the bottom left, you got a DNA strand. So one final conservation challenge that I implemented into my PowerPoint that is one that not only the Amur leopard faces, but all species on Earth face is climate change. Climate change has specifically affected the Amur leopard by causing wildfires in their habitats, making them more vulnerable to different diseases due to increased extreme weather conditions such as floods, increased temperature and humidity, and all these factors of climate change have increased Amur leopard cub mortality, which is another major reason their population continues to decline in general. On this slide, you can see images of different diseases that can be contracted in the bottom right, and then on the bottom left, you can see a wildfire. Um, two of the many causes of climate change that affect the Amur leopard and all species on Earth in general. And moving on to some of the conservation strategies now. There are many different conservation strategies to the many challenges that the Amur leopard faces. One of the strategies that has been tried many times and proven successful is camera trapping. Camera traps are used to track Amur leopards populations as they cross borders, and this trapping technique helps scientists establish a better ecological corridor to track the Amur leopard. Um, it helps different nations, governments know where the species movement is across different borders and fences. Scientific research conducted on a study on different predator, prey, human, and cattle sightings with camera traps to get a better understanding of the conservation of the leopard and the ecosystem as a whole. The research proved that with 69% of the 356 camera trap stations containing zero counts of leopards, the spatial abundance data exhibited zero inflation. That was Fig 1, S1, Wang et al., another great article that I used. This really helps scientists understand the reasons why and where the leopard populations are decreasing across their range. Then on the bottom right of this slide, you can see a camera trap set up and a female Amur leopard captured in the wild with its cub, which is really cool to see, encouraging on the bottom left. Another one of the conservation strategies, this is probably one of the most successfully proven conservation strategies for Amur leopard, is captive breeding. And a scientific study was conducted at a zoo in Tokyo, Japan, the Inokashira Park Zoo. It stated that out of the many pairs of leopards they have tried to breed, few have been successful and actually had cubs. The Amur leopard breeding has been compared to the breeding of domestic cats that have been tried for artificial insemination, um, which I kind of included on this slide a little bit. Um, they have not determined the correct amount of sperm required for AI of an Amur leopard, but if AI succeeds in the Amur leopard cats, they may be able to try it on other endangered big cats, not only help the Amur leopards, but all big cat species. And then you can see on the following graph, the number of leopards have been produced from different captive breeding programs across the globe. The captive breeding program produced around 55 leopards from 1989 to 2009 in just 20 years, while wild breeding only produced around 15 leopards in that time frame. This proves why captive breeding and reintroduction of captive species into the wild can significantly help the Amur leopard population. Another very important conservation strategy for the Amur leopard is studying their genetic diversity. Due to the Amur leopard's low genetic diversity, their population groups tend to be smaller, which makes them more difficult to study. A national park was established to track their population, and they tracked the leopard's DNA through fecal samples and genetics tagging, which scientists have done. The Amur leopard's low genetic diversity is a big part of why the species is endangered, and strategies such as tagging and tracking DNA through fecal samples can get a better idea of their genetic diversity. The following diagram shows mutations, sexual reproduction, and recombination through different generations over time, then loss of population size due to habitat fragmentation. Um, then finally, how maintenance such as nature preserves and a wildlife corridor can increase species populations and genetic diversity, which leads me into my next slide. Um, so here you can see some of the genetic variations of the Amur leopard. Starts with generation, mutations, sexual reproduction, then chooses to loss. That starts generation and then goes to loss, reduced population size and habitat fragmentation. And finally, like maintenance, such as nature preserves and a wildlife corridor, can help increase species populations and genetic diversities. Um, and this leads us into the next and final conservation strategy for the Amur leopard that I have displayed in this PowerPoint, which is establishing a better ecological corridor for the Amur leopard. The Northwest Tiger Leopard National Park in China was established to protect, keep track, and establish a better ecological corridor for the Amur leopard. An experiment was conducted in this national park by scientists using ARGIS software and graphs to talk about ecosystem types and commercial land use in this area and how the national park protects the leopards. The national park has helped protect the Amur leopard from factors such as deforestation and commercial land use, which makes the population go down. Um, these factors make the population go down, and this land was obviously established by the Chinese government to protect the Amur leopard from these threats and better keep track of their population. The following map shows the Hun Chun Nature Reserve in China, along the Chinese border with North Korea and Russia. The red shows the Leopard Tiger National Parks in China, while the gray dots show camera traps in the Daoheng Hugu, sorry for my pronunciation, region in China. And the black dot shows different camera traps set up for Amur leopards in the H&R region of China. I wanted to make one final slide on important reasons why we should care and preserve Amur leopards, since this is what my presentation is on. Amur leopards provide many benefits to ecosystems, such as reducing prey numbers and helping keep the ecosystem in balance by preserving the food web and all of its species. They also increase the health of a forest, which can better provide food, water, and natural resources for the locals and help tourism factors such as wildlife watching of the majestic leopards. On the bottom left of this slide, I put a picture of an Amur leopard conservation symbol, and then on the bottom right, I put a picture of an Amur leopard being treated by veterinary care in captivity. So one of the many inspirational quotes on why we should fight for endangered species is by Jay Inslee, the governor of the state of Washington, who is a lawyer and economist along with a politician. He states, "What is a fish without a river? What is a bird without a tree to nest in? What is an Endangered Species Act without any enforcement mechanism to ensure their habitat is protected? It is nothing." Um, and Another inspiring quote that on why we should protect endangered species is by an American author and animal rights activist who states that animals are like us, endangered species on an endangered planet, and we are the ones who are endangering them, it and ourselves. They are innocent sufferers and a hell of our making. And that was from Jeffrey Moussaieff Masson, American author and outspoken vegan and animal rights activist. So here are some of the sources that I used to gather my research. Thanks for listening to my presentation about a meaningful topic to me.